name is George Boggs, and I'm leading this CBT team. I'd like to introduce the other members of the team, or maybe just have them introduce themselves and say a few words about their background and experience. And Bob, I'm starting to just want me to get up. Bob Jensen, and appreciate you being here. And I retired from Tucson, Arizona, as chancellor emeritus. The rest of it is all he's been president of a few other places as well.
I'm Jean Malone. I retired also. Well, we look like we're retired. I was vice president of human resources and district chief negotiator at a community college in Southern California. So 28 years. But you don't have negotiations here. So that's good.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Randy, and my background is in finance. I was the vice chancellor of administration and finance for a large multi-college district in Northern California, college for most of my career, but spent about 34 years stuff. So, and just thank you for all your hospitality. We've hosted a lot of you for meeting times and been so responsive, and we really do appreciate that. So all your other duties, so thank you.
I'm Diane Sawyer, and I missed the first visit, so I'm really glad to come and be able to meet on the first time. I was the president of several colleges in the Houston area, and the founding president for one, so I got to build one from a blank page at one time. And then I went to Seattle to work for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in their post-secondary initiative. So I left there last summer, and I'm doing consulting primarily with community colleges to improve completion and student success. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. And I'm the recently retired CEO of the American Association of Community Colleges based in Washington, D.C. I was there for a little over 10 years and retired as president of Palomar College in the San Diego area. It's about a 30,000 student college. And prior to that, faculty for the local administrator. So we have one other team member who will be joining us on Friday, Judy Spark, who's our researcher. She's been director of research at Rancho Santiago College. A lot of experience in research. Just a little bit about CBT. You can tell from team members that we're a pretty diverse group. We have, probably over 50 consultants around the United States and I think one in the United Kingdom now. We try to put together a team to meet the needs of the college. So we do have researchers, grant writers, HR people, business folks. So we structured this team to meet the needs of your college, the needs of the contract board outlined to us. So our CBT firm is essentially made up of retired folks from all levels of community colleges. We have completed over 30 projects in several states and just completed our first international project in Kuwait. So what was this project about that we were assigned to here? Bob and I came in and met with the board to try to figure out exactly what your college wanted us to do, and we settled upon an organizational audit that would include the following things. Of course, looking at benchmark colleges that were provided to us and other colleges about your size to see how they're structured. We were assigned to look at organizational structure, how you're organized, whether we can make any recommendations for improving how you're organized. Looking at staffing ratios, do you have the appropriate level of staff members for various functions at the college? Hiring policies, are they fair and open? Can we do things to recommend improvements in how the college conducts its hiring? Evaluation, training, and development. What policies policies do you have that need to be updated? What can be done to improve evaluation, professional development, training? Job titles for specific groups of employees. And we didn't look at job titles for the whole college, but only those that the board and the president asked us to look at, mainly administrators, supervisors, professional staff, and this sort of work. And then position descriptions or job descriptions, I think we ended up writing or revising 92, is that right? 97. So quite a few, not everybody's, of course, but again, mainly administrators, supervisors, professional staff. Also, we were trying to look at technology to support communication processes and organizational effectiveness. Faculty assignment and qualifications. The board was particularly interested in getting reports about faculty hires and the qualifications of faculty. The other thing I should say is the board wanted to give us sufficient time to be able to have these kind of forums so that we can hear from the faculty and staff here. So we've conducted, this will be the second this week. We were here in July to meet with committees and groups of people who were available in July, but we haven't developed any recommendations yet. We wanted to hear from everybody, so I hope you'll be feel free to give us your honest assessment about a number of things. In terms of our timeline, we are scheduled to present the final report to the board on November 7th or whenever the board meeting is about that time. So any questions about the process? Okay, I thought it might be good to help us kick off the discussion by looking at the results of the survey monkey that we gave you an opportunity to fill out so you can see how your colleagues felt about things, and maybe you can give us some more insight about some of these questions. George, you want people just to anytime if you've got a comment to make or a question to ask, something you think could help us in our thinking, please interrupt anytime. So the first section of the survey, the electronic survey, focused on hiring procedures. And the question here was, employees hired by the college meet the minimum qualifications on the job. Well, only 45.7 agreed, 21%, or 45.7% agreed, 21% strongly agree. But look at, we have some folks who disagree or strongly disagree, and some who don't know. So I think that may deserve a little bit of attention. Comments about that one. So I think most people think that employees do meet the minimum qualifications listed in the job notes. This next question asks about whether the college actually follows its hiring procedures. Here we had a lot more disagreement. It looks like the 36% either disagree or strongly disagree, and another 14% don't know. So we needed to take a closer look at the hiring procedures and actual practices. Any comments about that?
I think both of those are kind of related, and there were some instances when it looked like favoritism was taking place, in particular when the president overrode the committee's recommendation of hiring someone, of course, producing services VP, even though they said that's not the person we wanted. So I wonder if that was part of it. But another issue for this question about minimum qualifications, it's really hard to find qualified adjuncts. And I know Marlene's been working on it in terms of pay, but it's an institutional problem of vaccination that we don't pair adjuncts enough. And in English, we're having a really hard time finding qualified adjuncts who will work here for the pay. We can't live on an adjunct salary. So, those are kind of two issues that I see that relate to both of these. It's very hard to take other classes when you can't have other people, and then you kind of go with the best option, and then you get that audience, and they may not be the
guess that leads to another question. There seems to be some disagreement about whether you need more full-time faculty. Would that solve the problem in English if you could have additional? So some, I think there's some departments that may be of concern.
Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, because I've been here just my 7 years, there's been a try for more full-time faculty.
Right. How widespread is it that you have difficulty finding qualified adjuncts? You can answer that better than
As Liz said, it's divided area. In some areas, we that command the labor. In others, like for central economics, we cannot find a pension. And English kind of comes and goes. Sometimes we have lots of them, and other times it's like, we're going to find another one.
right. Okay. Would you have a cap on how much an adjunct can teach by contract? 6.
They were basically 10 hours of semester.
Okay. 10 credit.
Now they did it go to the student, so they go by calendar year. Yes. And so they teach over the summer as well, and
Right. They need much certificate for it. So 10 is the year.
no years of it. 29 credit hours, 20 years. No, it isn't years. 6, 10, and 6. Okay.
I work in HR with the hiring, and I agree that it's hard. We have, I think, over 250 adjuncts. When is that?
County confirmed 330.
Right. So in Cheyenne, Wyoming, it's really tough to find that many adjuncts. And I agree that more full-time faculty would help with that because there's the benefits and a lot higher pay that go along with that. Look, and instead, that would also give them a larger course load of 15 or 18 credits for some of our full-time teachers. So it definitely is a problem.
Qualified after we have 330 in the pool, they don't always teach for us. So at any one time, there's somewhere between 150 and 200.
Does that number include Albany? Is this the same phenomenon that the
Albany actually has a higher percentage of adjuncts.
probably easier to find Albany like it is there, so it's not. The problem being my university.
Yeah.
Any other comments about this hiring procedures?
I guess the other thing am mostly in charge of the hiring process, and we are revising our guidelines right now. The procedures are very outdated and not current. So right now I don't have the power to do anything about procedures, but we're working on setting guidelines and changing the way that we recruit. But it's a process, and I still don't think it's going to help with the adjunct piece. But we are changing to more of an electronic process, because right now it's kind of difficult to even apply for positions. So that's also the works that not everybody knows.
So when you change these procedures, does that have to go through some kind of shared governance committee to refine how it's done?
I don't know exactly what all of this entails with the change.
It goes down to the departments.
All right, so next question asks whether the functions of your current job description clearly outlined on the job announcement. Have you were hired? It looks like most people agree, or strongly agree. Like 10% disagree, 5% strongly disagree. So it looks like people are generally pretty satisfied that the job announcement was accurate. So this question is for those who served on the selection committee. Was there compliance with diversity of bachelor's approach? And actually, it looks like that's not the case. So that's probably going to be one of our recommendations. Now, that doesn't mean you have to hire a whole bunch of people to do diversity or compliance officers. Generally, what happens is somebody in HR trains a pool of faculty and staff members who can be these compliance officers, make sure that the right procedures are followed, the right questions are asked,
summer, I finished, or our office finished writing our first affirmative action plan. We haven't had a plan in place, so we recognize that this is a area, but there's a lot of issues, and this is an issue that hadn't been addressed before. It's something that should have been addressed a really long time ago. So I understand why people say you don't know, but I think it should say never for I think that would be more accurate.
So those guys that always sometimes I didn't know who the person was, I guess. Okay. College follows a clear process for internal promotions of current employees. And here we got a lot of disagreement. That there's not a clear process for how people can be promoted. Any comments about that one? Okay.
Well, I think it goes back to just the lack of qualified applicants. Because sometimes people sort of just fall into a job, they really take over the job on a regular basis.
I'm not talking about Kathleen here.
Hey,
I'm here.
There's a situation where it seems as though somebody who just sort of had to take on the job because nobody was hired for the position somehow just ends up being in that job permanently, and so there can be questions about what ties back to the qualification, and then whether or not there really was a effort to make a search.
Okay, that's a good one.
I was laughing because I've been in a review a bunch of times,
I remember.
and in a 5-year period, I actually applied for the same job 3 times.
You got it all three.
I got it all 3.
Pretty good.
Really, I'm not sure of that.
Okay, reclassification. Well, you know, if you get people in the jobs and they start learning how to do that job and then eventually take on their responsibilities, there's usually a process to reclassify to recognize the new responsibilities. So here, it says the college has this process that's very consistent to use, and again, we have a lot of disagreement on that. So that's something else that HR probably needs to attend to.
It's a relatively new process, but it's just getting implemented, but yeah, actually have paperwork to reflect it.
Okay. So we probably need to make sure to see that. Okay, then moving on to evaluation of employees. Next set of questions dealt with evaluation. I've read the college's evaluation procedures, and we have quite a few agreeing or strongly agreeing, but there's 17% disagree, and another almost 7% don't know if they've read the evaluation procedures. So they didn't hire so long ago, they can't remember. So there's not a lot of awareness here about evaluation procedures. I'm evaluated using the same job description criteria that lists on job announcements I hire. Here, the largest percentage agree, but we have quite a few disagree, more strongly disagree. So I feel like they're being evaluated on different criteria from what they were hired.
Would that also apply if perhaps your job changed over the course of time? So now your job description would kind of take that, right? Or your job just to reclassification. Your job description no longer represents what you do, so you're evaluated. I would prefer to be evaluated on what I really do, as opposed to the description that's outdated.
Right, you should be evaluated based on the current job description, and if you're going to be classified, your new job description should be.
One of the problems, it appears that when jobs get tweaked, and you do, jobs get tweaked, somebody leaves, you don't replace it, you prioritize the functions and then you disperse them. So I pick up a copy, you pick up a copy. What happens is we don't update the job description to add those developments. So a couple of things happen. One, we're not evaluating somebody on all the job. And two, when something's added or subtracted from the job description, potentially within a range, there could be person isn't doing as much, or is doing more. So it's real important that we make changes, which we always do, that we immediately follow up and update those job descriptions in return. So it's fair to the employee that what is on the record is reflective of what the person's doing, both in terms of evaluation and compensation. Okay. This one just asked, have you been evaluated? And most of the people said they're evaluated every year. But if you look at the folks who say occasionally, rarely, irregularly, or never, but we have almost 10 from over 9% saying they've never been evaluated. That's a pretty high percentage to never been evaluated. So again, we need to look at the evaluation process, how it's carried out. So this question asks about whether your evaluation contained an improvement plan and followed up evaluation to measure that improvement. And it looks like we have a large no percentage or don't know percentage. So it looks like only in a small percentage of cases is there an improvement plan as part of the evaluation. And then there's a follow-up to that improvement plan.
I know it's intended to be, looking at the negative connotation, I remember that question, and I read it as an improvement plan being something with a negative connotation. So, could it be that people just, they don't feel like they're in a situation where they're going to be told shape up or shape up, right? That's how I interpret it. Is it meant to be a negative? And I agree with you, because everybody's in distraction. Part of that is an improvement plan, what they want to work on. So we don't have personally and so on. So that's part of what they do. And yes, it is used to identify professional development goals, to identify things that you want to work on. So there's a lot of feedback on that as well.
I think most employees took this as a negative. I do too. And I'm assuming that the not applicable response was 71%. Are some employees who didn't have a negative on their evaluation and an improvement plan? Okay, so that's a good, healthy group that didn't have that. But the ones who did, 14% said yes, they had follow-up with their supervisors, and the no's said they didn't have follow-up on their improvement plan. That's how I interpret that. I didn't take it to mean here, which would normally go in your evaluation, and it's true that if you didn't meet your goals, that next evaluation might be less favorable. But I took this in the shape up and shape out. Yeah.
Well, and the instruction, there's a fair amount of narrative that points on that way.
But I personally took this particular question as a positive for your college that 71% of the respondents said it's not applicable. So they didn't have any improvement to think about.
Perhaps that's time, that's what feedback is helpful. We can word this clear, absolutely right.
I appreciate that. But it looks like those folks that did have an improvement plan, pretty large percentage didn't follow.
It can't be worded in such a way that it was a supervisor-driven improvement plan. But employees goals. Yeah, it wasn't easy to tell you about doing goals is what I want to be.
Exactly. That's a separate question. Okay. Those of you who have been an evaluator, have you received training on how to do an objective evaluation? Here we have a pretty large percentage that disagree that they got the training or didn't know whether they got the training. So,
or maybe we're to train. I've never been an evaluator. Right. That's how I read that. But you never evaluated and I would have answered that as not applicable. That's why I think that number is so high.
what is the buying number goes to evaluations to get training to evaluations. So I don't use that information.
Yeah, whether you need a formal training or whether you're trained by peers when you come into the system or by a supervisor that this is the way you do it. You know, I wouldn't say it's totally found to the rules, but I don't think there's a lot of institution-wide systematic.
Oral history.
Yeah.
Oral.
Yeah.
And that's changed over time. We did learn, so when we did our being trained, we did
Evaluation is really also sort of positive impact. It has to impact for outstanding performance. But I can tell you that it's rare that evaluations are done well. I remember when I was president of Palomar, people would come to me and say, well, we've got to get rid of this person. They're just terrible. They're sexually harassing students or something. And I go look at the personnel file, and the evaluations either weren't there at all, or they were the best employee at the college. So we really have to be trained in how to do this. It's not an easy job, but it's very important for employees to the college. Comments about that? Okay, those of you who have been an employee performance evaluator, I received the evaluation marks instructions from HR in that matter. And received all of reminders. And here it doesn't look like a lot of people agree or strongly agree. So HR, I don't know, are you sending out the reminders?
Yeah. And again, I think if I don't do evaluations, so I answer not applicable. I think I do too.
I don't think that it says that there's 120 that answered the question. There are 316 full-time employees. There's no way that 120 of the people that responded are supervisors.
I've been here for 6 years and gotten that email every year. That says evaluations are due, here's the form to do, if you have any questions, call me. So I think the people who are being proactive and responsible are doing it, and those who aren't. So I think we need to focus on the responsibility of the and you've been doing it, so I'll use the calendar. Right, every January they're due.
So you're a supervisor at any of these folks?
Every January.
Okay, good.
For 6 years in a row.
Good. Any other comments? All right, the next section was on job titles. And here, my current job title reflects the authority and responsibility of my position. Most people agree or strongly agree. We have some disagreement about job titles. Any comments there? Okay, the number of job titles at the college for the size of our institution is what most people said is many, and we've been hearing that in the interviews with people too, that people feel there's just too many job titles. Any comments? Okay, my current position is appropriately classified in one of the following employee categories: administrative, professional, education services, staff, and faculty. Again, most people will agree here, more strongly agree. So it looks like people are satisfied with where they're classified.
When I first read it, and maybe it's the teacher's response when I first read it, but the one about the number of job titles, like, I don't know if there are too many job titles, but they change too often. I don't know what to call somebody anymore. I absolutely agree. So, wow, so pretty good, it's like, there's name, I got all out, That's the directory to see. Yeah. I personally had department, so it's changed a lot. That's another thing for 4 years, but it's changed a lot.
So
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they're attempting to adjust the titles to what people are actually doing, or they're recategorizing what people are doing, so they're trying to make a title. I think that sometimes trying to change the title so that they can check a box and say, yes, we have some of those, yeah, but not necessarily the things like that are all of them.
George, I think one of the issues is, do you have a process for reviewing titles and assigning titles and changing titles? I haven't seen one. When we were working on the job descriptions, it seemed that even then, one of the vice presidents or someone working on a job description changed the title for the job description, yet it was a different title that is on the college's official titles list. So it sounded like someone with authority could just change the title without a process in place.
And so the pickup is and change the job, but for the first sort of 30 years of the business, we're not very far beyond that. I think because at least as long as there were a fair number of charter faculty and staff in place, people just referred to people, many, if you need something, if you need Cora, or if you need, and including really, we're not hired anymore, So, and since we're moving into that, we moved into that second generation college, and most of those charter folks are not here. There may have been an acceleration to figure out more how the one seniority, anyway, whoever was in charge of whatever that was.
So maybe at this point, you're both very more formalized process for changing department text. Okay. My current position is appropriately classified in one of the following categories. Staffing ratios. There's a third process for requesting and approving new positions. And here we have very strong disagree or strongly disagree. Some we don't know. So what is the process for requesting a new position and having it approved? Very much process. So departments are aware that they request a new strike.
And there's an initial request form that is used.
It seems like it's a little difficult because there's the way the process is right now, because it's once a year that you can request new positions, and there might be needs throughout the year that need to be met. And right now we don't have that ability. It's once a year, and then you have your request in April, and you don't know until the end of July if it's approved or not with the budget. So I think it's really difficult for managers to be able to do what they need to with the process that's currently in place.
We've heard from some folks that the criteria is a floating, mystic criteria ultimately by the decision makers of how decisions are made. We heard that at the division and department level there might be specific criteria that enrollments, how many sections should we have, it's pretty rigorous. And then if there's 4 or 5 departments that have requested they come together and meet with the VP, and then it goes into this magic decision-making process. And I don't know if this is true, just having heard feedback. It's not clear what the criteria is when it gets to those levels. in the loop decision-making process is not clear that why there was one selected, why the one wasn't, and it's a criteria the same in other forms as it was at the lower levels. Yes, no.
And to add to that, I'm going to make it also is confusing when you blend the academic positions on faculty with professional experts and staff positions. You put them all under a mix, and out of that mix, some decisions that say this is not going to make that kind of blur.
Yeah, so you have a carrot root-vapor that goes into the blender, comes out. You don't know. It's just all blended. Is that true? Not true? That was a minority feedback, or I didn't hear it correctly. Which sense?
Well, I guess I would answer agree to this question, but I would also say it's not a good concept. So, it's clear, well, I think for what Alex is saying, but also because of what you are saying, that once the decision has been made, it doesn't seem to be problematical or explained. And like, we're super excited in our division to be that competition. Yeah. Ooh, and that comes after many years of, this being gen ed class that has been shouldered by one or maybe two full-time people, and then constantly saying, no, they can't have any percent. And then I think also what you're saying is true, that there's a problem with when faculty and staff processes combined, because we as faculty, we want more full-time, and then the perception is that there's a whole bunch of professional staff or administrative positions being added. So we don't understand where our request goes and why the admin stuff is trump the faculty, and that's the perception thing. So does that kind of answer your question?
I would agree with that, and we go further to the other discussion too. Because if you look at the numbers, faculty have not been hired, but yet a lot of staff administrators have been added. So it creates a lot of questions in this job. When you look at year after year, faculty requests or positions for faculty that are requested are not honored. Divisions, we put a lot of time into requesting an expert position, and we leave a lot of care into that, and a lot of thought into the rationale, and we have to look at each other in the eye and say, well, your position gets to go, your department gets to be, number one priority this semester, and there's a lot of heartache that goes into that process. And then to have that list of recommendations go out and come back with nothing, and know that historically that's what happens, it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't feel like there's really a system that wants faculty. And then qualified, but I meant that perception, so the perception that faculty and instruction isn't valued. I see that the numbers, some of that survey that we did, I think it was in 2015, it showed actually how many administrators were out of the 21, and then faculty was 6, and that was 10 years before. So, I think.
Is there a committee that prioritizes these position requests?
Well, what doesn't income say, when it comes up to the division prioritizes, and then the deans and I get together and we prioritize using the same criteria. So then when I go to cabinet level, I have that prioritized list, which gets into play with all the positions and so on. But also, I think another point is then we need to look at who comprises president, cabinet, and faculty. There are teams representing, but so it's like it would make sense that the people making the decision would then see from their perspective, oh, we need more people in admin.
I'm going to be going to Albany, talking to folks over there. What do you think their perception will be on this topic?
It's everything. Yeah. And we all think the last. I was founding faculty member on the branch campus for me.
Is that a legitimate concern given how it's structured? process.
The dean of the Alden County campus is one of my division deans, and so he plays with the rest of the deans. And so his requests are prioritized over all the others.
But it's the group that sets the priority that have equal number of representatives from the other campus. Or he be only.
It all ends up to the dean.
She's our,
For the whole.
Okay, so it sounds like, you've got a clear process, you disagree with the outcomes, and, there's not a good rationale as to back to why the decision made.
I disagree with that, that analysis. One, in response to how we make the decision with a collaborative, effort between the president's cabinet, and we don't make up that membership is, that's the president call who's on the cabinet.
Sure.
But, it all comes down to, the finite balance. So how do we maximize the impact across the college? And faculty have gotten 10 positions in the last 2 years, so I would not say that they have been mistreated. Before that, I can't answer that. But we're back and there are needs across the campus beyond that. And we try to address all of those. And when you're getting $1.5 million, $2 million a year, that doesn't go very far. When one, you have to give everybody a raise, and two, then you look at positions. And you have to look at it from a higher level, you have to look at it from college wide. Right. We look at it in a comprehensive decision.
is that the final decision with that group, or is it a recommendation to the president and the board?
The president sits on that. So it's a lack of
They're at a they don't see like the problem, but the president chooses cabinet, and that's where the decision stops. That needs to be problematic.
No, it goes to the board.
It's just like that board, it's
No, it goes to the board. It goes to the board recommendation.
and the board ultimately agrees with it.
Yes, the board, and then actually the board came back this year and said, we relook at this. So we went back and we relooked at it. I think we had 2 reasons back in the grade before we added some additional faculty members, but we had to take it away from others. But obviously, that happened. There was an open checkbook. Everybody had everything that they wanted. And then at some point, the decision has to be made. And there are going to be people that are ecstatic about it and that are not ecstatic about it. And to say, how does this happen? What happens to discussion? And we look at the needs of the college on a comprehensive basis. And your need is here. Their need is there. So how do we make it the best we can across the campus? And that's how we do it.
And I definitely, I understand that you didn't, I understand my efforts. I get it. I think maybe part of it, and maybe part of it is the transparency of that decision making process. Or I think I'd like to do one really good faculty position. Maybe more frequent. Here's how many faculty positions were added, here's how many admin were added, and
And we can have that information in we do a work session with the board in April every year. We walk it through, how we make our decisions and make it the data that we're using to support that. There is some employee information in there, but whether or not it's company factoring in the hotel community. It's constant on that. Yes. And last year in 6 again.
In terms of services is a good part. We go through that in the hospital, starting out of the front. So the leadership, we have to do that in the job. That goes up to our next president. The vice president went through the garbage problem, came back to our team, and I'll tell you what it is to this happens to me. So we say flat. So, and we understand that we've had a lot to get, but we really want to get back. And so I think that's in the perception in our area is going to do all that. So it's really a tough job for everybody. When we look at services, and I think it's so the first one, we can add in that, even at the moment. So we all have significant needs, but it's really important to know that we are sometimes we take turns with each other and
did you say that?
Well, that means they want, I don't know, I'm not sure about that, but we all need, but we have to give up positions, we need to give up operations things so that others can pass, does that make sense? So I think it's a collaborative process, and I think everybody's input is willing, but I do see that sometimes that should come back, because if everybody doesn't understand, it can go the same as a staff. Well, back in the day, staff never. I mean, all the time have to go to this. We need evidence. I mean, it's that perception like you're talking about. I mean, what's really real and what's not. And the rest of us is, you're not clear.
Well, I think it's more difficult than just adding a person, because adding all the other stuff that goes along with the person, because you cannot just bring the person on and say, here's your chair, sit there and do your job. You've got to have all the other financial support for them to be able to do their job. And so it's adding all those other things to the budget as well.
But at the same time, when you add 10 faculty, you got to support staff out here. We have to support those 10 faculty, yet we're not being allowed the position. They're talking about bringing a new building on campus. They're talking about doing something revenue. We're like, wait a minute. So we have a full-time or a part-time technician USI JP. So we haven't, we're sitting here, we're trying to support us. IT is trying to do all this, same amount of people we had 5 years ago. We were struggling. We're all being, that's my plan. But we're all, we are actually, some of us are very overworked. And it's starting to show in the end result. So it's starting to show.
So when you request these positions, do you have to get information or information like you can't find it on adjuncts or anything those? So you provide that information on your request.
We have about 7 different areas of the answer to find out on, so that we are comparing the same things from all divisions.
Any other comments on that, on this issue? Okay. Okay, this asks, from the very beginning, we heard about chief administrators. Well, we want to get a feel where are the chief administrators that keep hiring. And this is what came out. Here's like student services and workforce contract education. So I know any perception stuff, what people think.
One thing this morning, last night we received a printout of all the, or an email with all the information. This wasn't a part of it, so I don't know if we had the time to really think about that. So maybe it was a bit slow.
So that's not done.
George, we might want to, since they do have copies of the PDF, there are some minor differences in particular, the don't know answers. So you would expect that there will be a few.
The other thing I can say is we're going to make our recommendations entirely on perceptions. We're doing benchmark studies for the public colleges that are on your side. So we'll be able to make some informed recommendations based on what other institutions are. Any comments about this before we move on?
So this question is in the information.
I guess it's not.
No, I remember.
I don't think so.
Number 25, that's what you skipped, we got tired.
The element survey, 133 people. And that's because we.
I think actually, I think remember this question. I think it's a survey in the sense that it's a perception. It's not a reality, it's a perception that I think student services have to manage. So I got into student services, I don't have enough of that to me. And so, I don't know that it needs to be clarified that this is perception.
everybody else is there.
Exactly. That's what it is. The perception.
I think maybe we use the term administrators too broadly because we have maybe 27 or so people classified as administrators. But how many staff and faculty know who those administrators are? So maybe it should say the number of staff instead of administrators.
Administrators, who we perceive as administrators or your director level above, and student services has a lot. We have a lot of director and above level people, and so you either are a director or you're not. So, and those are the administrators, those are the ones who are making your, so it's not staff. I'm not on the team, I'm not in your talks, so.
But that's not completely true because not all directors are administrators.
We have administrators, then we have directors, then we have managers. In the real world, a manager, a director, an administrator are the boss. Out here,
non-administrative directors, we have non-teaching professional staff, and we have, there's not a clear, definition or what.
the other day, a lady that I've been working with for 14 years, the manager is real mean. It is, because I didn't know. I've been working with a lady for 14 years.
Don't be worried about what you said.
Not me.
We were alerted to that situation about directors, I guess it's called big or leads or something like that, so we're going to be making recommendations in that area. Okay. Number of full-time teaching faculty is adequate. Here, we have quite a few disagreeing on this, strongly disagree.
Again, perceptions.
Right.
Benchmark attention.
Right, it's going to depend on the area, and again, we'll be looking at benchmarking colleges.
Can I just have told the big you're going to do that with that? Because, for example, NCTE recommends that an English class, I don't know if an English class is 12. And that nationwide is never 12, right? I mean, look at that for K-12 teachers, But, so what I think it's important to this in perception, yeah, okay, but an English rating 50, 75, or 100 papers is very different than grading 50, 75, or 100 standard on. So, in English, everybody wants to say, well, it's equitable, but it's not. And not being able to staff a class is not a perception. It's a reality issue. And there are not full-time faculty who staff a course. There is not a full-time faculty, not that they're not talking about perception. And there are also, and this may be a rumor thing too, but on how overloaded the analysis is that there are some divisions that are forcing their full-time to on overload, and so I would hope that would be there as well. And when in our division, when we are on overload and looking at that, so I was also interested in my original question was how specifically happened to get in the benchmark.
Just a comment on that. So, and it's very difficult to get down to the granular level on the benchmarks. So the IPEC data, which is what we all report on a national basis, is on a macro level. How many full-time faculty you have and what your enrollment is. That data is pretty reliable, and we can grab that. We're looking at Arizona, California, Idaho, and Wyoming comparisons. So that's going to be pretty reliable, but that's about as far down as we can go on reliability benchmarks. But it is telling nonetheless in terms of what your full-time faculty ratio is and the number of students you have. And so I think we'll be informed. And where those will be assigned in that division or department, that's up to college to kind of figure that out.
Because for us to go further, for example, some colleges, because of the writing assignment, a full load is 4 classes of 30 to 35 in composition. Other colleges say you have 5 sessions, but they're 20 to 25. And some may have 15. So for us to go and benchmark actual class sizes in the policies of each college, and how they wrestle with the same thing we're all wrestling with. That wasn't our charge, and you don't want to pay us enough to do that anyway. Because you have to sit down and do that, and you can take the next step because you kind of know. But there's different ways of doing that. Some have less. Sometimes in teaching in some college, you got 5 credits to get your 15. Some you have 4, but your class size is a little larger. So there's different ways of doing that. Some have 4 credit, their classes conference of 4 unit. As opposed to 3 unit. So there's different patterns across states. So that's why we're doing it on a macro level.
Well, ours is heavily technology-based, so that's what it's set for.
Sure, if you're using a computer system, running labs.
I did what they do 7 years ago. I had sections of 4
Sure, that's kind of what I know.
So,
Yes. Okay. Those are good questions. So when you look at our stuff, you have a sense of why we did it what we did and where you take it to the next level.
So I asked student support services personnel is adequate. This is here.
And comments, yeah, look at this question of it, probably could have worded it a little better, right? Because when you disagree, it's not like you made something you're confused, right? And it creates adequate, then if you disagree, then you understand.
Just a little more detail on this question. Okay, number of maintenance personnel, no busing grounds, custodians adequate. Highest percentage was agreed, but we have 19 and 13% disagree. And if you're considering adding buildings, again, that can be this issue. So we'll again be looking at benchmarking. Business service personnel is adequate. Highest percentage here is agree. Not too many disagree. Then we move then to information resources. I have access to information and information access tools that I need to be successful in my job. Looks like almost everybody agrees to some extent here. Probably very quite a bit of negative comments about your eagle's eye.
Not enough.
Not enough input, not enough information.
It's getting better. I have to.
It is good for everyone though, when you go to try and find an HR form to essentially tell you how policies are right now, if they get an error message. Like up like this, and it's very frustrating when you can't find the policy.
Well, and I think the folks that work with Angel and Eagle's Eye, would be a lot happier if there were some common system that, so you're not always.
Yeah, bounce it back and forth.
Bounce back and forth.
One platform and whatever the platform is, it would work.
Yeah, for really driving people for Eagle's Eye for the college related stuff. And it does.
The portals.
So let's just take this as an example.
Yeah.
We're making decisions.
Yeah.
You know, you have to place it.
Yeah.
Or we're back. Okay.
But I think that they can do a better job of making sure that the forms that we are available, because there are, our policies are the outdated ones, the new ones aren't up yet.
That's not true, they are.
Okay, that's 2 weeks, so they weren't, policy on that, there were things that were not available for our use in the time of there. And so I think that some of the information that we need to store us is not available to us on a regular basis.
I was actually on this morning for policy that wasn't there. It was not updated this morning.
Well, maybe not through the process.
No, it has been through the process. It was the new probation suspension policy that was approved by cabinet in June, I think, and it is not on there as this morning. So,
I think what happened is when we combined the policies, we've been trying to access it too, is that all the ones that were
the review process was taken off on regular
Until they're reviewed
and so you don't know if the new one is ready to go, and it still has all the comments with it, or if it's one. So I think what happened was just that we're not that we can't have the information and we don't know. It wasn't followed up, that legal dire. This is just like
I think that I don't know if I should speak for everybody, but it seems like most people are frustrated with the legal side, but we still all have the ability to ask questions. We can ask people where to find these resources. Just because we go to one site and we don't find it, that doesn't mean we give up. We find the forms and try to figure out who to ask. I think we all have that common sense. We know that this is a tough to use system. I don't want to bash anybody, but we all have the ability to ask.
Got a lot of questions for them. Where did my things go? Here's a lot for me.
Okay, you're not gonna tell us one. Do you have information like dashboard or KPIs on how successful you are with students?
There's one for action projects right now, so we're not there yet, we'll be on.
College has processes and resources in place to support data-informed decision making. So we're going to be there. Yes. I received timely information about college issues that concern me. Vice percentage to read. About 90% disagree. 6.5 strongly disagree. So what kind of issues concern you that you don't feel like you're getting enough information about?
One of the things that I heard earlier was just this issue about communicating when decisions are made, how decisions are made, and archiving those decisions so that there's a certain number of positions that everybody knows where to find that information, archive that. There's information about that these departments.
For particular information, all the decisions or discussion that happens in President's Cabinet is out there online. At least as full as this right now, and that happens within minutes after the meeting. The copy of the budget recommendations in the library, the whole budget process, budget recommendations in the library. It's also out online. It's a discussion at the board level, 3 months on the budget and how decisions are made and how what data we use to make those decisions. So, I don't know where minutes of the LRT are sent out electronically. And that's what so I don't, if somebody can tell us a better way to communicate, throw it out there. Get everything that we need to know.
Right. The next section was on climate and structure. Climate organization structures, if they're appropriate. Well, that's one thing the board focused on. They didn't think it was better. And it turns out that you all don't get clear either. I guess there's some that agree. Any comments about that?
What does that mean? For clarity, does that mean you don't know who's in charge of what, or where decisions are made, or where to go to get a decision? Can somebody elaborate on that? I mean, I obviously read it.
Well, even though I'll try to answer this, even though we created organizational structures and organizational chart, it's not posted anywhere, so people can see the reporting lines and who's over what. And that would be my interpretation.
It's like the director is like, who's administrator, who's not, is it just a title, or is it to mean something?
Just one thing you might think about on this, I got I was speaking to the colleges and said they really put out two different types of organizational structure plans. One is just the typical who reports to who and job titles and names. But the other one is that same structure, but it includes a functional description. Like this person does, this function. So if you're trying to find out like who's doing something, sometimes it's very difficult to decipher that from a organizational structure with just names and titles. So you might think about that might be a way to help people understand where functional areas might be.
And then also I think there definitely is some confusion about who is responsible for what and whose job is what. But there also can be groups where people are unclear on what their services are and what actually overlaps and what doesn't. An example I can think of is at the in-service breakout sessions this fall, there was a discussion just on what sort of language we should use for basically competencies and performance standards now that we're not using the good software anymore. And in that conversation, there are three very separate groups that need to agree: the academic standards committee, and the instructional design group, and the assessment committee really have to all be doing the same thing. And so, but those groups don't have any real relationship with each other, so they go out and teach about, well, are we supposed to do this? And we actually have a meeting at the follow-up with the instructional designers and the assessment coordinators, and we said, we're going, so are you doing that or are we doing that? And I think nobody's doing that now. And so there's just a lot of confusion about why there are so many groups that are maybe not better. And nobody knows what's involved.
There's not clarity about responsibilities. Any other comments?
Just one more quick note. Recap, it is broken down into two different questions. Is the structure clear? Sure, we know who's hired, what, who's in charge of. Is it appropriate? Maybe there are people that we or disagree on the date or they don't invite someone.
I think the answer
Clear, but it's not.
at first is that part of the question.
Yeah.
It seems like there's been a lot of confusion on the questions. Who derives it?
Yes.
We own it. We're responsible. Yeah, you talking about none of your folks have any responsibility.
What happens on these is that we come out first and kind of move forward and try to understand kind of what's the issue and then read through our assignment, the written contract. And that's how we develop this to try to get a better feel for putting this out to a campus-wide community and give us a little bit more feedback. So now that we've been here for 5 more days, we can see, everybody needs to come a little bit because we know a heck of a lot more about you and being able to clarify. But these questions are all ours. There's no LCCC staff input on this, so the box is we own it.
And the reason for these forums, so that we
Exactly.
can clarify,
Politically
if some of these aren't clear, we can actually get from you.
That's why this works. One of the problems we have with the surveys, we have to keep it short so that people can
respond.
So that's why this is much more valuable.
I just wanted to let people know, I'm taking notes just for our team's discussion, and they won't be used or published, but just so I should have said that in the beginning, but just so we can remember what you all said, so when we have our team meeting on Friday.
It's been a while since the survey, but there were comments.
Oh,
So, I don't understand your question. I did.
Yes.
I should have.
Yes, and a lot of people did. Now, we chose not to put the MO in here because some people were very candid and very specific about Jensen. My mother would be insulted to hear this compliment. So we left it out. But that was to protect your candor, because the more open you were, the more helpful we could be. And people were very open and very candid, which is a compliment to you, and we wanted to protect that trust that you put into the process. So that's why you don't see the narrative, which helped clarify. If you mean this, this is my answer. If you mean this is my. Some people did that.
Yeah.
Now there are about 30 pages in there, but that really was kind of the border between the bricks, the third side of the coin on some of these questions.
Okay. Climate and trust is an issue, and we've been picking that up in the interviews we've had as well. So we need to figure out, for all of us, we need to figure out what can we do about that. What can we do here to improve this? Comments. We've got a lot of comments of the narrative.
Who did you pick to interview on how to do that?
We chose the committees that were here on campus. Well, we couldn't see everybody because faculty generally wanted to except for a few faculty leaders. So that's why we wanted to hold these forums so we could give everybody a chance to come in.
We met with, we took the organizational chart. We met with the deans. We met with the business folks. We met with the HR teams. We met with student service teams. And so, we did that. And there were individual follow-ups. So we tried.
So with people off of those specific teams? Or did you just like randomly
No, we didn't.
out of the hat?
No, we didn't do that. There was no random. And the survey went out to everybody. We encouraged everybody to respond. I guess you had a way to put that online. And we followed it up with these forums. Because when it's all said and done, we want people to say, you may say that, but those are ridiculous recommendations. Who did they talk to? They didn't talk to me. They must have talked to just a special group. So we're trying to do everything we can to be sure that we're hearing from as many people before we just get make some recommendations. And some of them you're going to like, and some people won't like it. You've got to use what you think is for you. We know there's politics, we know there's history, we know there's vested interest. That's the advantage of having a third party who are people just like you, work at the same institutions, parts of the community colleges. So we're giving you our best shot. This is an important institutional, just elaborate, this is an important institutional issue for you. Because as you bring in a new president, your new president's going to hopefully be able to see all this. Well, I was coming in and I looked at this. This one would concern me because in order for me to be successful, we need to be pulling in the same direction. There's a lot of things we can't control. We can't control what's happening in reimbursement from the state. A lot of things. We all have to get behind a common direction. And obviously, we're fragmented here. We're very fragile. At this point in time, there's a lot of bruises, a lot of, you need a cheerleader, you need someone. And so all of you are going to have a major stake in the success of your next president. And they're going to have to be very sensitive to this issue. But all of you collectively are going to have to come up with a game plan on how you work to develop trust and a common sense of direction and refocusing again at the total institution on students and their success, because that's what we're all about.
I think that's what had come from my who you are interviewing. I mean, you're interviewing a lot of administrators and a lot of people that maybe are on trust.
Steve, like this isn't accurate.
I'm just curious about some of, maybe not for me. Because some of the things are going to go back to, some of the questions are clearly, it's a perception issue, and it might not be people that all of us necessarily trust that you're asking our perceptions on. But this might be everybody. I'm just the people that they are specifically interviewing and talking to one-on-one and getting more actual information rather than just an agree or disagree. And that's my issue, and I own that. So Sarah, I agree with you, and I would hope that in your experience doing this, you recognize the power dynamics there, because people with power, you say, there's a problem, and people with power, and say, no. But then you go to the people with franchise, and say, there's a problem, and they don't say that. So, I don't know, I'm going to let you all, because that's my job.
I think it's 80% of us think there's a trust problem, and that doesn't say between faculty and administrators, it says it's among faculty, staff, and administrators. My perception coming back to this place from having been gone for several years, and coming back in, is that everyone mistrusts everyone. And that's been my perception among administrators, working with faculty, talking to staff, is that nobody trusts anybody. And I have just one comment to make about that. Distrust, like, hey, takes up a lot of energy. And we're a labor-intensive business. We work with people, other people, all the time. 90 point whatever percent of our time is spent dealing face-to-face with other human beings. And we can't have an element of trust in that among ourselves. We're not going to do a very good job of what it is we say we're going to do.
This does demand a lot of negative energy. Yes.
It's interesting to see this, these numbers, because it's saying that 80% don't feel like there's a level of trust, but then the only time that we are able to give feedback is or I feel like we can give feedback is in our services where there's a group of 400 people and nobody feels comfortable standing up and saying, oh, I have a problem with this, because you don't want to be the person to put a target on your head. I think we all feel comfortable in this small of a setting that we can express our feelings openly. But I think that wanting to lay low so you're not the person that gets pointed out is the reason why there's a trust issue.
Well, I think we recognize even in a next meeting with administrators and staff, that staff may not feel comfortable if their vice president's in the room say something. That's where we were hoping that the narrative part of your input of the survey would give us a little more information than the task. Or individual interviews or conversations with people. Have you ever done forums without administrators?
I think so. Did you do that in one of the, but on our campus?
Yeah, I was thinking that at other campuses, because that seems like that might be a situation where you want to break people up.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to it, because once you start excluding groups, from meetings over your.
Well, we can have their own meetings.
But the reason why I'm elaborating on this is it wasn't our charge to come and make a habit shift. That was our charge. What we wanted to do, and this was our idea, this was anybody in college that directed us to do the survey, that was anonymous, out to everybody, because we wanted to get a sense of the lay of the land before we got here. What were the landmines, besides just our charge? Now, we will be making some observations that are not recommendations, because that wasn't what we were charged to do. But we're not we wouldn't be serving you well. We want you to be successful. We're community college people. We know how important our charge is and what we try to do with our communities and our students. We want you to be successful. We don't want you to keep churning criticisms. If I were coming in as president and I saw this would be a whole process unto itself that I would bring other people in to help, and we would have to sit down, and we might have different forums that would not have, I would bring my consultants and say, there'll be no administrators, just meet with the folks, let's find out what's trying to go on. All I'm suggesting is that this needs to be mined, this needs to be a focus. There has to be a whole initiative that your leadership team says. I had a faculty member when I was here, last I was here, said, I'm a faculty member. And administrators come and go, some are good, some are bad. But you know what alarms me most? That my own colleagues, my fellow faculty, I disagree with them at a meeting, all of a sudden I'm on a hate list, or I'm on a hit list among my peers. The hell with administrators, I expect them to maybe hammer me, but the fact that I can't be candid with my own peers, a fellow student service worker or classified, within my own peer group, what has happened to us that we can't disagree without taking it to another level. Now that's serious. But that's something that when you can lay all this on your president, you can lay this on other people, but we all have an ownership here within our own peer group of how we conduct ourselves. It's okay to have a forum to disagree, but we need to do it with some reasonable ground. Don't personalize it because we may disagree on a policy or procedure, or that I like a person you don't, but it doesn't mean we're not going to lunch anymore. Come on, folks. And I think in some areas, not across, I've heard, that may not be true. Let's feed back to don't kill the messenger. What I've heard, and if that's true and it's widespread or spread a fair amount, you got to get on that. You don't need a new president to do that. That's how you all want to get it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much.
I agree with what you're saying, and I do think that settle down, but I mean that it's hard to get caught.
I agree.
So I do think you do need a president who's going to model that behavior and not do the favoritism hires, and not be,
Absolutely.
So it is a sad fact that it's happening here, and one of our colleagues, we've known this for several years because we've been doing this. Yeah. One of our colleagues put it really well if you remember the email that Jason Pasco sent out, and he said, when you take a dictator out, what you're going to be left with often is anarchy, because people all of a sudden become the target for all of these feelings that they've been feeling under the justice system. And I think that thought is going to last for a long time. And I don't know. And so I think Sarah would choose to fund something.
Good.
Yeah. So you made it pretty clear that you're not going to make a recommendation about that change before you observe.
Well, obviously.
I got a lot of recommendations.
Well, we're again, our charge was not to come in and say, hey, be our consultant, find out what the issues are, and recommend how we can take a happy look.
Well, I'd like to know what sort of.
There are things that can be done.
Yeah.
And we will strongly say this is a major issue. When we're meeting with people, we're talking about this issue, even though it's not our charge, because you're not going to be successful in implementing any of the recommendations that we said if you can't get a climate, you're kind of moving somewhat in the same direction. When we meet with board members, talk to people, we're saying, hey, have you seen this? The board's got to come together too. The board is not necessarily a cohesive group yet.
We have seen other colleges that have addressed something like this through, like say, start at the top, part of your strategic plan is way up there with the goal of the district. There's lots of different elements of what you do to try to create a trustworthy atmosphere, which is what you get accustomed to. And so there are some best practices out there that we'll probably share examples.
Okay, the administration really explained the process and rationale to make a decision. Making decisions, a lot of disagreement here, so I think a good illustration of it earlier with the staff thinking priority.
Yeah, and I think that Marty made the point earlier that some of these questions are very similar to your AQUIP results, and either drill down a little bit more in some of those, but very consistent that, in 2009 and 2010, you got similar results on these same questions.
Okay, broad-based involvement in the planning process. Some disagreement here, almost as much as agreement. Comments there? Administrator clearly explained the process and we're close to that, right? municipalities responsive to concerns of employees. So a lot of disagreement there.
Maybe ties back to the trust issue.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think it depends on what your issue is. And maybe you feel that your issue has been addressed, so you're going to respond favorably. Oh, well, that's really not good.
This probably is also related to trust issue. Different opinions are welcome and respected. There.
Or your opinion is,
Right.